Welcome to the finest railway museum in the Southeast, the Tennessee Valley. Founded in 1961, this year marks the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum's 60th anniversary. While the museum's original mission of preserving railroad history remains, TVRM also makes it. In addition to their popular excursion trains, pulled by both steam and classic diesel locomotives, TVRM also operates 3 freight railroads that are wholly owned subsidiaries of the nonprofit corporation. The Tyner Terminal, the East Chattanooga Belt, and the Hiwassee River Railroad allow the museum to earn extra revenue, which goes right back into preserving and operating historic rail equipment. This feat makes TVRM unique, as it's one of the only places where rail fans can document freight trains being pulled by literal museum pieces. Today, we're on location with the crew from the East Chattanooga Belt Railway. We caught up with the train's conductor, Travis Gordon, to learn more about the operation.
So the East Chattanooga Belt Railway that we use today was originally started as the Chattanooga Union Railway Company. It was later reorganized as the Belt Railway of Chattanooga, having close to 30 or 40 miles of track, mostly industrial, in the Chattanooga area, with their main passenger stations being Sherman Heights and Boyce. The railroad was eventually absorbed into the Southern Railway system, later Norfolk Southern. A lot of the belt line is still intact, though only about 6 or 7 miles of it is still used today. The portion we use, the 4.5 miles between East Chattanooga and 23rd Street, is owned by the Norfolk Southern Railroad and leased to TVRM for operation and maintenance.
About how often does this freight job operate?
It's really just as needed. I've seen it run as often as 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes I've seen it go 2 or 3 weeks between trips.
So Travis, not many railroad museums operate freight as well as passenger. How does this help TVRM?
It definitely helps our bottom line, because a lot of the freight revenue, not just from the belt line, but all of our stuff that we do out at Enterprise South with Volkswagen and ADM, aids in contributing to the bottom line to help rebuild and maintain the vintage locomotives and rolling stock. We often like to jokingly call the 630 and 4501 the steam engines that Volkswagen built. So the 5000, the engine I'm leaning up against here, was built in 1972 by General Motors. It was built for the Southern Railway, and it was the very first GP38-2 locomotive to ever be acquired by the Southern Railway. They operated it for many years. It eventually went to Norfolk Southern. It was last used in remote service before placed up for auction. And when it was placed up for auction, Progress Rail actually purchased it. TVRM purchased 2 other GP38-2s, the 5033 and 5044, and then we ended up trading the 33 to Progress Rail for the 5000 so that we would have the class unit in our collection.
How does the 5000 perform on freight duty?
It's a very well-running locomotive. I like running it. It pulls good, loads up good, rides really well, and on top of that, the air conditioner works very well too.
$5,000 and crew will run about 3 miles over TVRM's trackage to East Chattanooga, where they will then take the belt connection at North Chamberlain Avenue. Now on the belt, 5000 is seen running along Holtzclaw Avenue. TVRM's dinner trains and excursions to the Georgia towns of Chickamauga and Somerville also operate over these rails. To locals, it's just another train. To us, it's like going back in time. If you enjoy studying American Civil War history, there's no shortage of it in Chattanooga. In fact, M&M Industries is adjacent to the Chattanooga National Cemetery, where many soldiers from the Battle of Chickamauga are buried. With 35,000 casualties, the battle was among the bloodiest of the war. With 5,000 now stopped at East 12th Street, Conductor Gordon can be seen throwing the switch for the M&M Spur track. With the switch now lined, Engineer Birch slowly maneuvers the 5000 into M&M Industries, where a string of hopper cars are waiting to be picked up. M&M Industries receives service from TVRM twice per week and is the Belt's only customer. We spoke with Travis to learn more about the products they make there.
So M&M gets in carloads of plastic pellets, and they use them to make pails. Don't go in there and call it a bucket. I made that mistake once and got fussed at. It's not a bucket, it's a pail. Their website even says it, ultimatepail.com.
As Travis goes over his paperwork before pulling the cars out, we decided to get a better view of the cemetery from the air. As of 2014, it had more than 50,000 internments. There are many unique monuments on display in the cemetery, but the Andrews Raiders Monument is unique for its commemoration of the Great Locomotive Chase. It was erected by the state of Ohio in 1890 to honor the Union soldiers involved in the kidnapping of a steam locomotive called the General in 1862. Although the crew pulled an entire cut of covered hoppers, only one car will be set out for delivery to Norfolk Southern. Now that the cut is clear of M&M's switch, Travis will now line it back to the main line so that the lone empty hopper can be set out. Gordon has been a part of the TVRM family for nearly 13 years, volunteering for 3 years before becoming a full-time employee, where he now works his dream job. To save time, we cut the switching sequence for your viewing pleasure. You can see the lone empty plastic hopper to the right of the frame, having already been set out by the crew. With the loaded cars now back in place, 5000 will clear the M&M switch and will then pull a single covered hopper about a mile north to a runaround track at Allied Wrecker. This move will allow the locomotive to lead into the interchange point at 23rd Street, saving Mr. Gordon from riding a long shove over several busy city streets. At Allied Wrecker, there was another empty covered hopper waiting for the crew in the siding. They would pick it up and take it with them to the Norfolk Southern interchange point after running around the cars along Holtzclaw. Southern Railway number 5000 was built in January of 1972 and was the first GP38-2 locomotive on the Southern's roster. EMD's revolutionary -2 electronic system would prove to be much more user-friendly and reliable than previous designs, leading Southern Railway to order an additional 256 units. 5000 would spend the first decade of its long and storied career with the Southern before becoming part of Norfolk Southern's locomotive roster in 1982. From 1982 on, the 5000 pulled trains not only on Southern rails, but also in former N&W territory throughout the coal fields of Virginia and into the Midwest on former Wabash trackage. In 1999, Norfolk Southern absorbed the majority of Conrail. As a result, 5000 also saw service in the Northeast. In the 2000s, the locomotive often worked local trains, and by 2008, the veteran Jeep was equipped with radio controls so that a single operator could run it during yard switching. For the remainder of its career with Norfolk Southern, 5000 would spend most of its time working as yard power at many of the railroad's classification yards. Its final months were spent at Enola, Pennsylvania. In August of 2016, 5000 was auctioned off the Norfolk Southern roster. Although they didn't win the auction for the 5000, TVRM was able to trade locomotives with the original buyer so that they could preserve the historically significant locomotive. That fall, 5000 was delivered to TVRM, where it was restored to its former glory over a period of 8 months. In June of 2017, it was unveiled to the public after being repainted into Southern Railway's deluxe gold scheme. With both cars now in tow, we followed the train as it made its way to the Norfolk Southern Interchange at 23rd Street. At 23rd Street interlocking, the train crew stopped to chat with the Norfolk Southern dispatcher about permission to enter yard limits. 23rd Street is a busy place with traffic from both Norfolk Southern and CSX. Once permission is given, 5,000 will clear the belt lead and enter yard limits. Alongside the NS and CSX main lines at 23rd Street is a 2-track runaround where the East Chattanooga Belt delivers and picks up inbound loads. These plastic hoppers will be shoved into the runaround, where Norfolk Southern will pick them up later on during the week.
You know how to kick tires? I'll try my best.
Today, Norfolk Southern only had one loaded car of plastic pellets for M&M Industries. With the lone covered hopper now behind the 5000, they would have to get permission to shove back onto belt trackage. Once permission was given, Travis directed engineer Birch to shove the train down the belt connection. He would ride the car to Polk Street, about a quarter of a mile down the line. There, they would run around the car so that the locomotive could lead the train east. After running around the covered hopper, the crew set it out so that they could grab the full cut of loaded cars at M&M. They would then add the inbound car to the rear of the cut and then shove the entire cut back into M&M. If you're a fan of EMD locomotives, you'll love hearing the sound of 5000's EMD 645E prime mover as it works M&M into the afternoon. M&M Industries doesn't receive cars on a set schedule. In fact, they're given service on an as-needed basis. Because of their irregular schedule, it's not always easy to document TVRM's freight operations on the belt. We were fortunate to have learned of this move the night before, and we're thankful to witness this diesel-electric time machine in action. It really felt like stepping back some 40 years to the early 1980s, just before the Norfolk Southern merger. With the cars now in place for the customer, 5000 and crew would head back to Grand Junction as light power. We would follow the locomotive back to TVRM, capturing it at several locations along Holtzclaw Avenue. At North Chamberlain Avenue, TVRM trains have to battle a steep grade that leads into the museum's trackage that runs all the way to Grand Junction. The short but steep grade has been nicknamed the Mini Saluda by local rail fans. Thankfully, without any cars in tow, it won't be any challenge for the 5000 today. Back at Grand Junction, we watched as a Norfolk Southern local freight meandered its way down the main line at restricted speed. Norfolk Southern is one of the few Class I railroads that operate locomotives long hood forward from time to time, a Southern Railway tradition. As the Norfolk Southern train carried on, Travis and Paul were bringing in the 5000 to conclude their day on the East Chattanooga Belt Railway. The locomotive would be tied down for the afternoon, but would be used later that night to pull TVRM's dinner train. We hope you enjoyed this rare look into one of TVRM's freight operations, and look forward to bringing you more coverage of the Southeast's finest railroad museum. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy railroading from all of us at Delay in Block Productions.